Tuesday. Yeah, I have some errands to run before I get to the office. We have some doors coming in at our new place. So I have to get there, open up for the guys, maybe see if they need anything. But before I do that, now in the car, thankfully with my morning dose of caffeine. Before I get going, I have to send my daily report in our company Slack. So what that means is that every morning, everybody, especially the guys on the dev team and also design people, like everybody, aside from the people that don't work on client stuff, everybody sends their report in that Slack channel. What I do is I have a little ChatGPT chat where I keep all that, and I just do this. Yesterday, I did attend the internal meetings. I did support the PlantSnap product and development teams. I did handle the administrative tasks. I did shoot content starting on Monday. I did attend another session for the in-house project with Vanya. We also had an internal design review for Mobsur, Mobsur. I forgot to say what I'm doing today. I'm going to be attending also PlantSnap meetings. And we have meetings for marketing related tasks and marketing campaigns, but for PlantSnap specifically. Okay, so this little thingy, I send voice chats to it basically. And it gives me quick little 2-block sections where I can actually copy and paste this directly into the company Slack so I don't have to type. I'm not a big fan of typing anymore, especially on my phone. I'm going to wrap this up and then we're going to get to the new place where hopefully the guys with the doors are going to be arriving relatively soon. So see you in a bit. Last night we had WWDC. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's the Worldwide Developer Conference. And that's Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference. It's always been a very interesting moment of the year because we're starting to get into summer. At the same time, they announce a lot of new stuff. They usually announce the new iOS as they did last night, but they also announce some other stuff as well. But I think these are the guys, so I'm going to have to go and meet them. And we'll continue that thought about WWDC and something else I want to talk about today after I meet them, okay? Okay, so the guys said they have about 3 hours. I'm now wondering what we should do in the meantime. The arrangements for the installation of the doors is done. The guys are working and then later they're gonna drop the key. This brings me to today's topic, which is regardless of what you do in business and regardless of what you do in general, at the end of the day, most of the time, what you're doing is actually managing people. And when I say managing people, I don't mean that you are the manager per se, but as in this case, so that's a group of installation guys, and they're hired by their employer, so they're not hired by me directly. They don't work for me directly. But at the same time, I have in my best interest to make their lives easier so that they can do their jobs better. If I want them to install my doors nicely, I should make sure that they have everything they need. It's not super warm. They have power and stuff like that. And that's what I did, essentially. I could have not done it, but I know that for a fact that it's better if I actually do it. And that's something that I actually learned from my dad, and I worked in my father's business for probably more than 10 years. And that's something that he's a master in, just managing people and making sure everybody has what they need in order to do their job properly. And that's something that I've been able to transition over into my business, but also in life in general. Today, we're going to be talking about managing people and how to do it properly. But it's now time to get to the office. It's 10:44 a.m. I'll see you in a bit, okay? Play that one song Diego sent me. Actually watching the recap WWDC of 24. I didn't have the chance to see what they announced last night. I don't remember if I mentioned this previous vlog, but usually what we do is we get around here at the office, we all sit around and watch the conference together. So I actually still have almost no idea what they announced last night. What I do know is that there were some controversial announcements related to Apple's lack of involvement in the AI space. So Apple has always tried to be like in the forefront of the AI developments, but they've been lagging behind. Tools like ChatGPT and some of the other more popular tools came out, they were really lagging behind then. And Siri has always been like very basic and hard to communicate with. But actually, as far as I understand, last night they announced a partnership with OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. Maybe 15 minutes after that, Elon Musk tweeted out that he's going to be banning all Apple devices in his companies if that ever happens. And there was actually another tweet after that, which was saying that he's also going to make all visitors visiting any of their companies leave their Apple devices at the gate and put them in a Faraday cage. Obviously, I don't know, he's very worried about what happens when OpenAI has access to Apple device data. And it's interesting how Apple is actually doing this, because from my perspective, in the long run, I think this is actually a bad thing for them. Because first of all, this means we're not doing a great job. We're giving away this basically major key feature and major key technology. We're giving it away to someone else, meaning we're giving the chance of someone else to come in and do it for us because we're not doing a great job, which I don't know. Apple is a $3 trillion company, one of the most valuable companies in the world right now. And I can't imagine that being that good with hardware, they don't have the ability to be that good with software as well. And this is more or less mostly software. And it's also weird because ChatGPT and OpenAI, the way they work is that the models that they use are run on these huge data centers somewhere. Apple's philosophy has always been we're going to be privacy first, which means handling all of the data manipulation, software stuff that all happens on the device. How exactly they're going to merge that is unclear, at least to me. But more importantly, the stuff that is usually what piques my interest during these events and these conferences is the announcements that they make for the software, because this is mostly a developer conference. A lot of the stuff they announce is related to the new iOS version, the new macOS version, new stock apps that are going to be releasing. I'm going to watch a quick recap to try to catch up.
It's AI that gets you on your Apple products. iPhone, iPad, Mac, with built-in privacy. And you can make your own emoji.
Okay, this is basically generating images on device, editing photos. This feature with the movies is something that they've had for a while. Now it's basically looks like it's more AI than before. It can do that even now. So in typical Apple fashion, they're highlighting some features which we've already had. Maybe they're not going to be working better than before, but yeah. Now this is scandalous, I think. We've had the iPad, I don't know, probably for 10 years now. And this is the first time they're actually releasing a stock calculator app. And actually, the iPhone didn't have its own calculator app for a very long time. The first calculator app came on the iPhone in 4 or 5, something like that. So the first versions, I think, didn't even have a calculator. Okay, that's cool. You can handwrite a math problem, is cool. But adding a calculator on an iPad for the first time, 10 iterations of the device further, I think is a little bit crazy.
Solves it for you.
Okay, this is something that people have been also, I saw a few reactions to this, because this feature, being able to see the screen of your iPhone on your Mac, this is something that Samsung and Windows computers have had for a very long time, Android phones and Windows computers. So it's funny that, again, Apple is so late to the party.
Hey, bud.
Yeah, changing colors on your screen, changing buttons and things like this. This is obviously more customizations Android phones have had for a very long time, and Apple is just now adding them. Yeah, I don't think that's relevant to anyone. So what can I say? Some cool features there. It will be interesting because these are the highlights of iOS 18 from a developer's perspective. Obviously, you got to dig a little deeper to understand what the changes are, what are the things that we're going to have to think about as developers with the coming of iOS 18. Another thing which is very important to state here, why do I watch this? Why do most people watch this? I think there's a few different reasons, but from my perspective, the most important reason to watch it is because, as we stated in one of the previous videos in the vlog, is that you are able to see what Apple is focusing on. And if you can catch some of these new features that they're working on, let's say right now they're announcing this collaboration with OpenAI. They're going to probably allow developers to use these features to some extent, develop some new functionality in their apps by using these new, call them APIs, these new functionalities in the operating system. If you use them and if you use them quickly, understanding what these new features are from a developer perspective, it's something that you can use to your advantage because Apple really likes to favor apps which use these new features very early on. And we actually had the opportunity to work with a team at Apple, but we were using one of their new features and we were working on an app in the education space, and they were focusing both on education apps and those new features. So they approached us and they helped us develop a new feature for this app. The people that do manage to do it properly and do manage to use these features early on, they very often get highlighted by Apple and they get this extra exposure. Just got a message from one of the guys that he's requesting like an ad hoc meeting, which I usually don't like too much. I don't like doing these ad hoc meetings too much because what ends up happening is that when I jump in from meeting to meeting, which I already have a lot of in my schedule, it gets a little bit crazy at some point throughout the day and especially throughout the week. What I tend to do nowadays is I try to communicate it from beforehand to the people that work on the team that I am not available for these ad hoc meetings all the time. And if they want to ask me something or if they want to tell me something, they have to do it in a way which is more mindful of the fact that I also have work to do. And my work is not just to chase around their needs. Even though that is part of my work, that's not all of the work that I have to do. And it's all about communication. And this brings me back to today's topic, which is again related to managing people. And when I say managing people, I mean trying to have someone do something in a way that you want it done. When you're the person with the knowledge and when you're the person with the experience and you are the person taking the responsibility to steer the ship in a specific direction, that's when this set of skills, which I think is super important, comes into play. Running a company, running a business, running any type of operation is all about doing mostly that, managing people. And to manage people successfully, it's allowing people to work creatively in their respective fields. But the question is, if you're supposed to be delivering results for your clients, for your investors, for your users, how do you do that? You don't do it with micromanagement. If you want to do it successfully, there's three things that you need to think about. Now, first of all, managing people is all about communication, as I've already stated before, which means the most important thing for you to think about is how to communicate properly. There's a few different parts to the communication. First of all, it's how you look. Are you calm? Are you excited? Are you sad? Are you happy? All of these, let's say, emotions, facial expressions, other types of emotions, that of the communication is super vital. Then it's the way you speak. Are you speaking too loud? Are you speaking too quiet? Are you speaking too fast? Are you speaking in a way where people can't differentiate between the different words or where the sentence ends and where the next one begins? All of that is the act of communicating. If you put some effort into those things, you're definitely going to be much better at communication
than someone who doesn't pay attention to those things. The language that you use is also, I think, very important. Try not to use language that's too simple. Try not to curse a lot. Try not to also use the other extreme, which is overcomplicated language and words that people don't necessarily know. So just try to find a balance between these two. This first part, the act of communication, is the easy part, I would say, because this is something that you can practice regularly and you can get better at. You can add in more to the mix, different set of clothes, a different hairstyle, different way of speaking, preparing a little bit before the conversation, what I'm gonna say, how I'm gonna say it, am I gonna be calm, am I gonna be excited? And you can change these throughout the act of communication. And that's the easy part. The less easy part comes in slot number 2 and slot number 3 of what I think is the perfect mix for being great at managing people. Slot number 2 is knowing yourself, being empathetic to yourself. And what I mean by that is the fact that you have some strong sides and you also have some flaws. And everybody's like that. It's okay. And you got to use your strong sides to your advantage. If the flaws that you have are somehow making your life worse, you should work on them. Because if you're managing people, you have to be a leader to them. Don't put yourself on some kind of high ground that you're flawless or you don't make any mistakes. But at the same time, this doesn't mean that you have to look weak. You have to look vulnerable and you have to look like an actual person. But don't put yourself in a place where you present yourself as if you don't have any shortcomings. And use your strong sides to your advantage. Like, for example, for me, a strong side would be that I'm able to not fall victim to my emotions. I have my emotions, but at the same time, I'm not controlled by my emotions most of the time. So that's a strong side of me as a manager and as a communicator. But knowing yourself, knowing your strong sides, your weak sides, and also understanding the fact that the reason why you're doing something comes from you. Let's say I'm right here, I'm running this business, I have a team of 15 people, I have other people doing other stuff for me, I have some people working in my apartment, figuring that out. So there's a bunch of people around me that are doing stuff more or less for me, to some extent for themselves too. They're getting paid for it, they're growing their career and things like that, but they're doing it for me. The question is, why am I doing those things? And understanding that would allow you to communicate better with the people around you, meaning you're going to be able to manage them better. Because imagine that you're stating, let's say, you're doing things for reason X. Let's say, I'm doing this business because I want to make Bulgaria a better place for everybody. It sounds cool and all, but if my actions after that don't relate to that statement, then everybody at some point is going to realize that I'm lying. And this is probably one of the worst things you can do when it comes to managing people, and this is losing their trust. If you're genuine, if you don't lie, if you know yourself, if you know your reasons, and communicate with them out of that framework, it's very difficult to, first of all, not gain their trust, and second of all, to lose their trust. And this is crucial when it comes to getting the results that you want in your business and in your life. We have number 3 coming up, but first of all, one of the guys texted me that he wants to have a quick meeting. I'm gonna order some food. I'm gonna have another meeting, and then we're gonna get back to our topic for today. So yesterday we submitted this whole submission for this design contest for our in-house app. And funny enough, today, I don't know, 11, 12 hours later, we already have 2 submissions by 2 designers. That's actually my first time seeing them. Van has already seen them, but I haven't yet. I'm excited to see what they've done. I think it looks all right. Maybe we need to send some comments about the stuff that we don't necessarily like too much. Let's see the other one, to be honest. This looks more cleaner and more modern and more contemporary. I think it looks much better than the other one. I'm feeling pretty optimistic so far, to be honest. Having in mind that we submitted this yesterday and we now have 2 versions already, I think we have 5 days left to submit design concepts. So technically, if we get 2 a day, we might get 10 more or something like that. When we talk about the topic of today's video, which is managing people and communication, one of the most important things to manage in a service business, specifically the business that we're in, is communicating with your clients. In this case, our clients in the United States. And we already talked about the first two parts of good people management, which are communication and knowing yourself. The last bit, this is the part which most people either don't get fully or don't get at all. And this is understanding that there's another person on the other side of that communication. There's another person on the other side of that exchange. And that person has their own set of ambitions, their own set of goals, their own set of issues, their own set of strong sides and weak points. You can start to try to understand the reasons why they're saying what they're saying, the reasons why they're acting in the way that they're acting, makes you better the relationships that you build with these clients. And I think that's probably the reason why for 8 years servicing clients, we don't have one client who has complained about the quality of the work or any other aspect of what we do. Some of them have raised some concerns about the fact that our prices might be a little bit high, but I guess that's the world that we live in. But other than that, we haven't had any complaints or any bad reviews. I've always done my best to understand the needs of that person that's on the other side of the conversation and doing my best to then communicate the needs of the customer to everybody on the team in the best way possible so that the team can understand what our customer wants and they can build the software that they need in order to do and achieve the goals that they have for their business. With that, our topic for managing people and the fact that this is actually what you do on a daily basis if you have your own business can be concluded. Of course, if there's anything that you like to know more about, make sure to put it in the comments. I'll do my best to answer in a future video. Yeah, that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next one.